Hey, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co., and welcome to my very spoiler review of Sail Legacy. If you missed it on the channel, I already did a review together with Meg on the channel covering Sail Legacy, but a spoiler-free review, with the goal being that for those of you who want to know our thoughts and opinions without having anything spoiled, that will give you that review. But there are those of you who are like, hey, there's not enough information about the game here, and I'm like, that's right, which is why you get a spoiler review, and that's this video. So here you go, spoilers and everything to Sail Legacy, the experience I've had specifically within the rough first quarter of the game. A few notes before we dive into it. This is a prototype, rules and components subject to change. I'll have a link to the crowdfunding campaign down below, and also I'm going to kind of give a quick overview of what Sail Legacy is, my thoughts, opinion, and score, and then some of the things we've encountered while playing through it that lend itself to why I have that opinion. Sail at its core is based, well, Sail Legacy at its core is based on the two-player trick-taking game Sail. It's a cooperative trick-taking game where in general you're going to have a little ship. Your ship is trying to move to the end over here, and you have to play cards. You can have these extra cards, you have to like kind of play into these tricks to try to match what actions your ship is going to take as you move around the board. There's a degree of abilities in there, there's a degree of planning, communication, knowing which cards to swap. You're just trying to work together as you play cards to get your ship to the end, knowing that depending on who wins the trick and which suits are on those tricks will determine what you're doing and in which direction you are doing those things. That's the basic idea of Sail. It's a small box game, very well liked, pretty straightforward. Sail Legacy takes that and then tries to make a 40 session game, roughly 40, I believe it's roughly 40 gameplays of Sail Legacy in the box, while taking it completely out of the box, pun intended. The goal is to take that core Legacy system, the core trick-taking two-player cooperative system, and then making it into a game that can grow and develop with the players, and that's what Sail Legacy is. My review, my rating of it, was a tentative 4 out of 5. I played roughly 10 games. I think I played 9 games. I'd have to count this. You don't necessarily engage with every single session. I played roughly 9 games, and I'd happily start again and play through the entire thing, playing the 40-ish games or so once the final game is here. So I enjoyed it. I don't think it's like, you know, I wasn't absolutely head over heels in love with it, but especially I should also note, my opinion of Sail is Sail was a good game, but it didn't blow me away. I think it was generally more well-liked than my own personal opinion, which is my own personal opinion is it was fine. Sail Legacy gave me a lot more reasons to keep playing. That's kind of catching you up to everything so far. Now we dive into spoilers. I'm not going to be going over every single thing. I won't be heavily touching upon story. I'll just be telling you about various kinds of mechanics that lent itself to why I feel the way I do about Sail Legacy. And the general idea is, to begin with, it's a legacy game. I think legacy games enhance any system if done well. One of the things I did cover in my review is that it does it well in the sense that there are a lot of things being added, but for the most part, the rules are very easy to understand when you added things. They often had quick snippets of rules and then like, hey, check the rule book in this section if you want to like really read it. Most of the time I didn't need to really read it, so it's easy to add the new mechanics to the game. Most of those changes happen in between games as opposed to during game, which is a thing for me. Like, I want to play the game. I don't want to be constantly stickering, learning, and adjusting as I'm playing the game, and those types of things have detracted from legacy experiences for me in the past. Sail Legacy, they did it well. There's some things that happen mid-game, but for the most part, you are doing things, the bigger things that are happening in between sessions. So that's just a general concept of Legacy. All that was in my original review. But the things over here that I'm going to talk about are some of the specifics that made it stand out. So first of all, some general structure over here. I'm showing you the first game over here. You're going to have these NPCs that you're fighting against. Sometimes it's going to be a ship you're racing, sometimes it's going to be a monster that's trying to fight against you and hunt you down. There's a variety of NPCs, each with their own little rules, that is little tokens that are going to go on the board and deal with whatever you're doing. You're going to start off at the beginning, you're going to immediately go towards hunting a bunch of tentacles over here to use those as a currency, which you'll unlock later in the game. You'll also have a variety of quests from delivery quests. I should know, by the way, this is very much prototype. They're going to be changing the layout and structure, so not just everything you see may change, everything you see will change. It's already going to be changing. I think they're making things bigger. Things are changing, so very much component-wise. There's going to be research scenarios. This is an escort scenario. There's going to be race scenarios. There's going to be all these different scenarios you're trying to do, from fighting, racing, escort, or at least those are the various things I've seen so far. But then it's going to throw things at you that you didn't necessarily expect, because a lot of this is like, okay, great, it's Sail, just with more maps and more things that are happening. What's different? So first of all, NPCs are going to be different. The fact that you constantly have this narrative of things that are happening, sometimes with just pure narrative, sometimes with things that are happening along the the way. That's handled off in a few ways. First of all, there's going to be narrative you read at the beginning of the scenario, as well as the goal, as well as if you lose or die, different with certain NPCs will have certain effects that happen. Like if this one's destroyed, you're going to read that. Down here, when your health goes to 0, you read that. In between rounds, you're going to be reading certain effects over here. When you hit this mark over here, this mark is on most boards, if not all, you're going to read the map event. If you hit that, you don't have to hit that, so you can choose. Do you think it's good, bad, do you know, or do you just want to see what the book has to say? So it means you're going to go for it whether or not it helps you. This is all narrative stuff. It's quick and easy because I know I just said that you don't break up the game. You do break up the game with narrative, but you're often reading 2 seconds. There's not a lot of big gameplay changes. Sometimes like add a card to the deck. The bigger changes happen in between games. So first of all, they're giving you a lot of things, both a timer mechanism and then different types of ending, running out of time, your ship dying, enemy ships dying. All of these things will trigger different kinds of conclusions that will take you to the next level. They'll take you along the pathway you're going on. But outside of that, a lot of small things will be happening. Again, you dive into the first scenario over here and you just start off with the basic scenario. As soon as you get to the second scenario, you're already hunting tentacles. Something new is happening. You're trying to get as many tentacles as possible. A key thing the game does is the concept of practice scenarios. So again, I only played through the first quarter of the game, and what you're going to have is you're going to have these scenarios where it's like, okay, great, you can now replay the scenario as much as you want. That's the thing you can do in the game. You can replay certain scenarios, meaning in theory you can try to replay what you want, but the legacy aspect of things does limit your ability to do so properly. They specifically have structured scenarios. I want to say it was 3 in the first arc of the game, which means if that average holds true, you'd be looking at around 12 total. That means 12 constantly replayable scenarios that are just meant to be like, hey, here's a game to play. Legacy games in general always have that aspect of, are they replayable when you're done? And I can't speak to, how Sail Legacy will play out at the end of it. I do find there's a degree of unlocking that makes playing the non-unlocked version less fun, but I do think that at the very least you're going to walk away with Sail Legacy, which will have a bunch of, I don't know the number, but let's say roughly 12, that's my own made-up number based on extrapolating from the first quarter, you have roughly 12, maps to play Sail with. So imagine you walked away with Sail, but with 12 additional maps. It's an expansion in its own right, whether or not you engage with them. Separately from that, I encourage engaging with them. If you want to engage them, you can engage with them. It's worth playing through them. Outside of that, you're going to have a few boards that are in play the entire time as well. These are going to be tracking a variety of things in the game, as well as giving you setup instructions for the scenario, including stickers that will go on there as you need to add different things. You're going to have your ship tracking its core stats in the game, as well as various abilities you're going to have and or unlock, as well as the way your ship fires and different things that happen with the cannons here. That's a big part of this as well. Again, spoilers to a certain extent over here, not to a certain extent, spoilers to a full extent, but you have the ability to pay into things, because one of the nice things that I've enjoyed is you're going to be earning coins. So you're going to be tracking your coins as well as your tentacle kills, and you can spend both of those on these various shops you're going to unlock. So you're going to unlock shops in the game that have you able to upgrade your character in a variety of ways. So for example, I upgraded over here the fact that our ship can shoot in a bunch of different directions as opposed to directly top and bottom. It has a wider spread. You can do more damage. You can give your characters more trick limits because you have to play. You're playing with a limited amount of tricks each round, and so you can pay to upgrade the amount of cards you can have, the amount of tricks you can play, things like that in the game. You're gonna have your tentacle shop over here. So, for example, the bandolier, you're going to get add the sticker to a player's prior card. They gain +1 hand size. You're gonna have the magic brooch, the tentacle tassel. The Benjamin shops are gonna have most of the adding more cards to the deck, because adding more cards is a key part of the game. You're going to add them both through the shop as well as through unlocking them through a variety of situations, because you have your standard 3 colors in the game as well as the standard effects over here. You're going to have tentacles, the wheel, and the cannon. Those are going to be the general effects you have, all tracked what they do on your personal player board over here, which has your own character, various stats, again, their abilities you can unlock as you go. You're going to be given these quests in the game, and those will help you unlock things. So you have something you're working towards as you play. So for example, I'm just going to make something up over here. Maybe you have an ability that says, I don't know, win a trick with a 3 or less. Like, you have to win a trick with a 3 or less. That's a little harder to do. And if you do that 4 or 5 times, you'll unlock an ability. So the fact that you have these goals, these quests to work towards, and you're unlocking abilities, again, that gives you something to drive to, and it gives you an additional satisfaction. And it's not just based on one scenario, they go over multiple scenarios. Those will unlock various traits you can have for your character, making them stronger. You have these additional abilities you're going to be gaining and starting with that, again, give you the actions you play when you play a matching set of cards. Which goes back to the shop over here. The shop is going to give you the ability to unlock more more cards. So for example, we have these core numbers over here as well as their abilities, but what happens if you got a 7.5 with a wheel in it? Suddenly that gives you a lot more flexibility. You're adding a mid-number card that can be used to win or lose depending on what you're trying to do. So you add all of these numbers to your effect, these half numbers. You also have the ability to add things that are completely different. What about this mermaid over here that you can unlock in the game? Or alternatively, getting a fourth suit, getting an entirely new suit you can play, which will again change up what you can do and how you can do it, or even getting pets. Everyone loves pets, and pets sell board games, and it's a shame that they can't talk about the pets as publicly, but there are pets you can earn throughout the game. So you have all these cards you're going to be trying to get your hands on, different cards you can unlock as you play, and you're going to be tracking all of those over here. So you can track your own personal board, and you can ignore this, by the way. During the game, I did not track as much as we should, so we actually unlocked a lot more cards. I put the first few stickers out and haven't been keeping track, but you can track what cards are in play based on the colors. Over here, we have the hints that there are 2 more colors coming in different ways, and then based on the specific types of them, as far as the numbers, as well as things that break numbers in general, different things you're going to have over there. So again, this pet over here has no number at all. These are all things you're going to be unlocking as you play. I think we loosely cover this sheet over here. This covers different tracks you're working towards. Are you more of a scallywag or a swashbuckler? Across all of our games, we were definitely more of a swashbuckler, not necessarily intended, but we definitely were working that way as we played, and you're going to be unlocking map features as you go as well. And then one of the bigger surprises that happens in the first few scenarios is the fact that you're not always doing what you would expect to be doing. All of this might seem fairly standard. You have a map you're going through. You have a specific mission. Maybe the legacy aspect is the fact that you have these races or these what's called, oh my gosh, guide, what is, not counters, when you escort, you have these escort quests, you have these races, you have these fights, so you have all these things that you're trying to do, or just get to the end before time runs out. You have all these different core maps as well as what you're trying to do on those maps. But then sometimes things happen that are different. There'll be a point in the game where a ship is going to catch up to you. No matter what you do, it's going to catch up to you. And that is something, I talked about this a little bit in my last review, where sometimes there is the appearance of choice even when there isn't actual choice in the game. That can happen. One of the times it happens, a ship is going to catch you, and you will suddenly, before you know it, be boarded. That's a big shift in the game. You're going to add a bunch of meeples, your meeples for yourself as well as the enemy meeples, and you're going to be fighting it off on this board. It totally changes the way you play the game, gives you totally different rules. You're going to have, let me see if I can find it over here, you're going to have your regular character board, but then you're going to have close combat boards that clip onto the side over here. Go over here on this side over here. You have close combat. Speaking of which, you also have your pet sideboard that unlocks there when you unlock pets. So you are going to be able to expand your board over here with different things that happen as you go through different types of situations or scenarios. So the fact that you're not just playing this regular game which has all the things you expect, but rather suddenly you're in close combat and you're able to have a whole different little puzzle mini game over here, and that close combat can be simulated as well when you have sharks. So if we have sharks in the game, meeple sold separately. This is not from the campaign. This is not, my son got this meeple over here, so it's not meeple. This stuffy. But you're gonna have sharks in the game. You're gonna have sharks in the game. So for example, you have the same idea where you have this kind of board where you can have a face-off against sharks instead of pirates or whatnot. But again, it gives you that close combat vibe. So you have these totally different things happening. Now, I haven't gotten into all the mechanics. I'm not trying to get into all the mechanics. What I am trying to do is to try to give you enough of a general sense or feel of the things that are unlocking that keep you invested as you play, or kept me invested as I played. Again, like I said already, I played roughly 9 scenarios. I think it was 9. I'd have to double check. The tricky part is there's these layers sometimes. Sometimes there's layers where, like, again, even the shark scenario is a layered scenario that you may or may not encounter this, theoretically speaking, but if you encounter this, if you die, you find yourself in the water, you're suddenly facing off against survival against these sharks. And so you have some encounters that could be skipped, some encounters that become sequences that break the timing of an encounter, but all told, I believe I played roughly 9 encounters, I believe, rough recollection. Across those 9 encounters, enough was unlocked to give me a sense or a tease of what we're continuing to do in this game, and I don't know what other secrets will be thrown our way. I do know that there's the ability to invest into the long-term playability, whether that's personal quests you're getting that will unlock abilities, whether that's the tentacles you can use as one of the currencies to unlock more things, or whether it's the coins you can use as another currency to unlock more things. All of these, at the end of the day, are giving you a degree of progression that you're working towards the ability to feel stronger as you play, to be able to do more as you play, and that can be impactful because some things I found easier to manage if you played enough of the game. You can have a good sense of the timing of the trick taking, but sometimes you're just facing off against a ship that has 25 health, and you need to not just be good at trick taking, but you need to do a cannon that does 2 damage per shot, and that's something that you can invest into throughout playing. So you have that long sense of investment that you're working towards. You have the cooperative sense of you're working together through this. So like sometimes when you have competitive legacy games, there's always that aspect of who's winning or how you track that. I personally prefer a cooperative legacy game where it's kind of like the game gets harder as you lose and you get stronger as you win, but there is that sense of powering up, that sense of long-term investment of companionship, of teamwork as you play through the game. And then the game's also giving you those surprises, those things you don't necessarily know what to expect. Sure, I know I'm unlocking cards, I know I'm able to upgrade stuff, I know there's long-term build-out and investment, but I don't know what I've missed. I don't know at the very beginning of the game, the very first thing you do is you choose one of 3 treasures to face off against, and the other 2 are discarded forever. That's a permanent lasting effect that's going to have long-term ramifications, because that treasure that you choose is going to come back, in a manner of speaking, in the game and affect you based on what you chose. And so the first thing you do when you first start playing is you choose one of 3 things to play with, and the other 2 are gone, and you will never encounter those things again, unless you just, well, I shouldn't say that. Based on the first 10 scenarios, you'll never encounter those things again, and maybe one day you'll open up the envelopes and see what all the things you missed. I don't know what other things are in that pathway. I don't know what mechanics you may never find. I don't know whether are there cards you won't find? Are there suits you won't find? I found mermaids. Are those always going to show up? I don't know. I do know that there have been things that I wouldn't have gotten unless I lost something or won something. I don't know if those would have shown up in other pathways or not, but that sense of gravitas, of impact to your choices is there. And then I like the surprises. I like the things that I didn't know to expect. I like the fact that these merchants are to spend money on. I like the fact that you have these close encounters that suddenly change up the way you play the game, and they give you a different little puzzle to play. Yes, you're playing Sail Legacy with a sail, but plus a whole lot of things. But sometimes you're playing a whole different game that just happens to use the sail system, and I like that variability that the game provides. So overall, my opinion you knew from the very beginning, because that's where my last review was. My goal with this was to show you a lot more of the things, that growth and progression that I've already seen through playing this, and the reason why I want to dive back into it so I can continue to unlock more things. I didn't talk about everything. I'm not going to talk about everything. It's a whole flag to decorate. This impacts to how you decorate. There's a lot of things going on in this game. All of which I think that if you chose, I probably should have said this at the beginning, but if you chose to watch this, if you made it this far, I still think this game gives you a lot of reasons to dive into it, pun not intended, to explore it, and to find out not just what I've seen so far, but what else there is to come. And again, I haven't seen everything. There's a variety of things I don't even know what will be coming. But that's my opinion and experience of Sail Legacy. I enjoyed playing through those first 9-ish games. I am happy to dive back into it. I think the game sessions were a manageable length, and I think that the Legacy will keep me driving forward. I don't know if it will be a Legacy game I play when I'm done. I don't know if it'll be a Legacy game I revisit. I have revisited Legacy games. Like Pandemic Legacy, I've played twice for both of them. I've played Charterstone twice. I played Aeons and Legacy twice. There's a bunch of Legacy games that I have revisited, allowing my enjoyment of going through a sense of linked missions is sometimes enough. It's like exploring a TV show you used to watch and just watching that one season again. And I've done that with Legacy games, and I'm sure I'll do it again. I can't say whether that will be true for Sail Legacy. I would be very surprised if I didn't finish the full 40 episodes. Campaign games, I'm like not as reliable as far as which ones I want to finish versus finishing, but Legacy games I generally have a good track record of finishing, and this one I certainly enjoyed enough that I want to see what other secrets and surprises are in store. In any case, until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. This is $9.63. Yes, that's his name. I didn't name him. He's just hanging out here. And until next time, he named him.
I named him.
Until next time, I hope you have a good one.